Hi everyone, welcome to another Table Talk. So in the past couple of weeks I've had a couple of folks post questions, to a couple of my videos asking about prop direction, does it matter? For park jets, essentially no. I've spun props, spinning clockwise or counterclockwise. So I just wanted to go over some basics. I've talked about this in maybe one or two other videos, but it's all buried within a bunch of other information. So I wanted to just talk today just exclusively about some of the basics that I've learned and I apply to making sure that I mount my prop properly on my motor and about prop direction. So I did find this great big prop. It's 12 by 8, I think. It's certainly not anything I would ever use on a park jet. I think I picked it up for some other project years ago and just happened to find it. So essentially, regardless of whether you're mounting the prop on the very front of the plane, which is you'll often hear as a tractor setup, pulling the plane right from the very front, or mid-mount like most park jets, like this F-35 here, where the motor's mounted sort of in the middle, or even like a tail mount like my FRC Foamy's F-18. On 99.9% of props, you will find I think I have purchased like really inexpensive knockoff props that had no numbers on them. But I'll talk about how you can identify which is sort of the front of the prop and the back of the prop. But I've tried to highlight it on most props. There's always numbers written on the front of the blade, normally very close to the hub. So on this side, I just kind of marked it with some orange marker. That's sort of where the pitch is. What tells you the length of the prop and the pitch. So essentially, these numbers, when you mount the prop on your motor, those numbers should always face the direction of travel. So if that way is the nose of my park jet, let's say, and I'm a mid-mount park jet, my prop actually will be mounted this way. So which would be opposite to what it would be if I had a tractor set up. Again, the numbers always face the direction of travel, which should be forward. There's other ways, and this is one thing that I got used to now, and it makes it a lot easier for me to identify, how the prop, making sure that the prop is mounted correctly, and also determining which way the prop should spin. So hopefully, because this prop is a lot larger than most that I use, if you look down the end of it, and then even at the front, this is the leading edge of this blade right here. A prop blade is essentially like an airfoil, so it has somewhat similar properties to an airplane wing. So the leading edge is a little bit thicker, and then it is thick and then tapers out very thin on the back end, the trailing edge. So this leading edge of the prop, once you identify where the leading edge of the prop is, obviously that prop should always lead as the prop is spinning. If you have it set up so that that leading edge is leading as it spins, regardless of whether it's spinning clockwise or counterclockwise, then your prop is mounted, should be mounted and also spinning in the correct direction to make sure your thrust is going in the right direction and therefore your plane going in the right direction. Now, does it matter whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise? No. And here's some things that you can get, can be very confusing. Sometimes on these little quad racing motors, certain vendors sell them and you'll see clockwise or counterclockwise. Now I have found out myself the hard way that actually refers to the thread, the direction of the thread. So what direction your nut will screw on there. So this is a GEP RC motor. Any ones that I buy, the thread is always in the same direction. So most of them it's a clockwise thread, but some will be counterclockwise, so it's it actually tightens going in the other direction. Now prop spin is based on if it was a real airplane and you were sitting in the airplane. So for example, let's pretend I'm looking at the rear we're looking at the rear of this F-35. Because of some issues with this build, in order to counteract some of the torque roll on launch, I ended up going actually with a counterclockwise spinning prop. So the leading edge is here, and the prop spins this way. Okay, so it's based on if I was sitting in the airplane, or in this case, it's easiest if you look at the back of the airplane. So this one spins counterclockwise. This prop is a clockwise prop, so it actually spins the other way, the leading edge being here. So when it's mounted in my park jet, it spins the other way. So with these quad props that I use on a lot of my planes now, you buy them in a pack of 4. So you get 2 that are essentially clockwise and 2 that are counterclockwise. So if you just remember, numbers always go forward. Leading edge of the prop always leads the way as it goes around the circle as the prop spins. Then you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. The difference is going to be, especially with a park jet where you're hand launching it, is torque roll always goes in the opposite direction of the way the prop spins. So if this prop is spinning this way, the plane's going to want to torque roll or pull the opposite way. So if, in this plane here, I put that prop because I was finding that when I used a clockwise prop, the torque roll was really quite strong. And it wasn't actually torque roll, it was actually, I think, a misalignment or something I built into the plane. So now by having the prop spinning the other way, or counterclockwise, it helps counteract that. So just know that torque roll will always happen in the opposite direction to the way the prop is spinning. And in most park jets anyway, torque roll is normally most noticeable on launch until you get some air flowing over the wing and the control surfaces, or sometimes when you really hammer the throttle, you might notice that the plane might have a little bit of torque roll issues. I've also been asked if it matters which direction these collets or shafts are threaded. I haven't really found really much difference. I know there's some people that say that it should be threaded a certain way to keep the prop from spinning the nut off. Now these kinds of bullet nuts, they're actually soft aluminum. These come with most of these. This is a Turnigy 28, 26, 6, 2200 park jet workhorse motor. These sometimes can be a bit of a bear to tighten, so they sometimes will come off. Since I started using park jet motors, I just use these nuts that come, prop nuts that come with the quad motors, and they have, like here in Canada anyway, a lot of people call these nylock because they have like a nylon washer, I guess, that's inside the nut as part of the nut. So when you tighten it down, that nylon bites in and it really helps hold the nut on there. So these nuts will actually, if they're obviously threaded in the correct direction, they will actually go onto these types of threads. So if you're worried about that, I would do that. And you don't necessarily have to go out and buy. You can buy extra nuts, quad motor nuts like these ones, or what you could do is just take this, take this little threaded shaft thing, take it to your local hardware store that sells fasteners, and then just find the right thread, and then buy some of these nylock nuts. I know at my local Home Depot they sell these loose, in bulk, so you can pull one out and test to make sure that it's the right thread. Okay, so what happens, if you get the prop mounted correctly with the numbers facing forward, and you fire your motor up and the prop's spinning in the wrong direction. So the trailing edge, in this situation, the trailing edge is actually going, leading the way around the circle. With a brushless outrudder motor, it's extremely simple. The way that I remember it, and don't worry about what color these wires are or anything like that. all you do is you just take the any two of the wires between the speed controller and the motor, disconnect them and swap them, okay? And then that should get the motor spinning in the correct direction. Yeah, so I hope that that's been you know, fairly straightforward and understandable. Like I said, always number one thing, make sure that the numbers on the prop, on the front of the prop, are facing the direction of travel. Make sure that the leading edge of the prop blade is leading in the way around the circle. And then if your motor is not connected, spinning in the wrong direction, any two of the wires between the speed controller and the motor, just disconnect them, swap them, plug it back in, and your motor should be spinning in the correct direction. And also, if you're having issues or you're worried, you know, about the tightness of these aluminum bullet nuts, just go to your hardware store or wherever and pick yourself up some of these nylock nuts that have the correct thread. Okay, so thanks as always for watching, folks, and for your kind support to my channel. Blue skies, calm winds to everyone. Park jet noise, the other sound of freedom, baby. Take care.